This is saxophonist and Vandoren artist Albert Rivera. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this video. I promise it'll be informative. We will get you thinking about creating good habits for the long term and also how to try to avoid creating bad habits. So if you're ready, let's go. One of the most important things to do to continue to develop as a musician is to practice often. Well, how often should you practice? That's completely up to you. We highly recommend that you try to practice every day, a daily routine. Daily practice will allow for progression in your musical ability. It will also get you accustomed to how your instrument should feel. The more you practice, the more progression you make. It's really simple. Remember, everything is a learning experience. It's important to make sure your instrument is in good working condition. The same applies to your mouthpiece, reed, and ligature. If even one of those isn't in the best of shape, it's really noticeable, not only to you, but to your fellow classmates and your instructors. Remember, the more consistent you are with your musical studies, the more of a chance that you'll notice when things are out of sync. That way, it'll be easy to adjust. As you probably already know, having a great reed is very important. So what's better than one good reed? Two good reeds. So if you find yourself with multiple good reeds, what should you do? Well, fortunately, there's a thing called reed rotation. And just like it sounds, it's when you rotate your reeds. What does this do? Reed rotation allows the life of the reed to be longer. Using multiple reeds on a rotation basis will allow multiple reeds to last longer. This will limit any issues in case one reed stops working. You're ready to go with another one. Vandoren has some great videos on this already. Be sure to check them out after this. Having a good working saxophone along with a great working mouthpiece, ligature, and reed is a big part of an even bigger picture. As a student of music, it's important to use everything at your disposal to your advantage. This includes not only using a recording device, but also a tuner. A tuner will help you work on your intonation. And having good intonation is very important in being an instrumentalist. Over time, you'll get used to knowing if you're a little flat or a little sharp just internally. But a tuner is always a great tool to have nearby. Tuners, much like a metronome, is essential for any student of music and any professional. So make sure you have one. And remember, tuners and metronomes are easily downloadable on any phone app. One of the components of developing as a musician, especially a reed instrument, is sound production and tone. So what's the best way to develop a sound and a good tone? Long tones. Long tones is a practice of sustaining one note in tune with a focused sound while developing the muscles of your embouchure. Here's an example. Try to have fun with long tones. One of the ways you can practice long tones is by practicing melodies of a ballad at a very slow tempo using a metronome. A great way of creating and maintaining good habits is to practice in front of a mirror. Let me explain. Much like using a recording device and listening back for things to work on, a mirror works the same way. It may point out certain things that you haven't noticed that you've been doing. Let's talk about some. By practicing in front of a mirror, it will point out two major things. As you're becoming more comfortable practicing daily, you may have not noticed a bad habit that may have been created. One of the things it'll point out is mouthpiece positioning. You may have not noticed, but maybe, just maybe, your mouthpiece is a little too much to one side, when in reality, we need it in the center. This will allow for maximum airflow, which will support a good sound and a good tone. A mirror will point that out. The second thing a mirror may point out is finger and hand position. As you're practicing, make sure to keep your fingers as close to the keys as possible. Sometimes in the early development, your fingers may tend to go too far away from the keys. This will only get harder when the tempos are faster. So keep in mind, hands close to the keys is the best scenario. As we discussed earlier, having a good reed is a must-have. So when should you replace a reed? Beyond how it feels, visual inspections are great. If your reed looks like this, or it's split like this, it's time to replace it. The same goes for your mouthpiece and ligature. Your mouthpiece should look like this. If you notice your mouthpiece has any cracks or chips in it, it's time to replace it. No one ever plans on breaking a mouthpiece, but accidents happen and things fall. So be smart and be careful. And remember, visual inspections are great. As we discussed earlier about mouthpiece position in the center, the same applies to your reed. Having proper reed placement as to not have it heavy on one side or the other of the mouthpiece will allow the life of the reed to be longer and for the best sound production. Here's an example of a correct placement of a reed. And here are some examples of reed placements that are positioned incorrectly. Here you notice one a little to the left, and here you notice one a little to the right. And here you notice one a little too far down. Although learning music is fun, it does have its challenges. So remember, it's best to remove any obstacles early on and create good habits. One more important thing to talk about. All your instructors never want you to have drinks and food directly before practicing your instrument. The easiest solution is to brush your teeth or allow enough time between the food and drinks and practicing the saxophone. It's that simple. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this. Remember, the more you practice, the more progress you'll make. Learning music is much like running a marathon. It takes time, dedication, and patience. It's much easier when you're surrounded by great teachers, creating long-lasting good habits, and have good working products like a good saxophone, a great mouthpiece, ligature, and reed. And finally, remember to have fun in this musical journey. Enjoy the small victories as they come, and I have no doubt a bunch are on their way.